10, 9, 8, 7, sorry. 4.
Okay, I like the countdown. Let's stop.
10.
Oops.
Slideshow.
Is it here?
Yes, just click that.
Okay, so my Pecha is about teaching and learning, and that's why I chose the very first picture. And why did I choose to talk about teaching and learning? Well, because I think this is fundamental for teachers, and I think that we should always discuss a bit more about it. If I stay here, people won't see me. So the idea of teaching and learning, I usually think of the student and the teacher. And what usually comes to mind is the figure of a sage talking with someone they're trying to teach their pupils, right? So, for example, right here it shows a picture of Plato and Aristotle, and they are walking side by side and sharing and learning. There's a lot of learning. However, when we're put into a classroom, this is what we have to face, right? This is what we tend to do. This is what we tend to see, especially in regular schools. This is what our kids are prepared to face in any kind of classroom. It's the teacher, the sage on the stage, talking and talking and talking. And when we are put there, we go through lots of training. And there are lots of methods that we have used in past so that we could teach language. The first one was the grammar translation method, right? Which you're trying to teach your students just about rules and rules and rules. So teaching it on woofing and woof, right? So there you go, you have language for you. This is what you need. This is very, very old, but we still see this happening nowadays in lots and lots of places. So that's why many students, they look at you and say, I don't like English because I need English to communicate. I need English to talk to people. I need English to make sure that I get my message across. So in order for me to solve that, I need to learn a bit more about spoken language. What should I learn? So we started studying a bit more about the spoken language. So about phonetics, about phonology. What are the patterns of interaction? How do you take turns in a conversation? How do you negotiate meaning? Interaction came into play. And not only that, but we also had something else that happened. Back in the 1880-something, we had the International Phonetic Alphabet that had been devised. And all students look at that and say, I'm here to study English, not Greek. I'm not sure why you're showing me that, teacher. And this is also not all that is important in language teaching. I myself, I love pronunciation, I love teaching about pronunciation, but that's not all there is in language teaching. And so, all the methods that all changed a lot. There was the shifting sands of methodologies, the reform movement, and all sorts of things that I'm pretty sure you all know. And what happened, I can't remember the next slide, but what happened, we'll see right now. What happened is that we still have this figure of the teacher. Who is the teacher? The teacher is always a wise man who knows everything, wearing glasses, unless he's a mutant, as you can see. You do have, this is how we portray the teacher. This is how we see teachers when we are students, and this is how our students see teachers when they're sitting there looking at us. We should know it all. And the first things you learn when you put into a classroom are a couple of acronyms and a couple of abbreviations. So you learn PPP, and then you tell people, okay, I'm talking about PPP, and there are things that we are the only ones who know that. So this is PPP, what? Or STT, or TTT, or TRT, teacher resting time. And there are a couple of things that only teachers get. So how often have you said to a friend of yours, no, do, did, done? And that actually means something in a classroom, right? When you're talking to your students, come, came, come. It means something. So when you talk about ESA, OHE, ARC, pair work, and what your boss expects you to know, they expect you to know everything that's trendy. They need you to know about CLT, .me, wow, and technology and the lexical approach, and they're telling you, don't you know anything about that? And they keep pestering you and telling you to know anything, to learn about what's going on in language teaching. However, you also need to take into account what your students want to be a teacher. So your students want to do what? To have fun. They want to be entertained. They want to go to the class and say, oh, teacher, this is so boring. Especially when they say, open your books. And we have to take all of that in mind when we plan our lessons, but what we end up doing is this, following textbooks and telling our students, okay, You bought the textbook, it's very expensive, we need to use it, so let's go and let's start using that. Even though that's not what we're supposed to do, that's what we see, right? I'm pretty sure I have more things to say about this slide. And then you start thinking about what matters most in the classroom. When you have this debate, which is a heated debate nowadays, especially when you talk about dogma, you're teaching unplugged and technology, right? If you've been to IATEF or TESOL, people have been talking about that a lot. And usually administrators, when they buy an iMac, tablets, or an interactive whiteboard, they say that was expensive. You have to use it. You have to use it. But what really matters in any context, in any educational context, is your relationship with the students. It's how you can connect with your students, the kind of bonding you can make with your students. This is what counts a lot. As a teacher, you're not there just to transmit information. As a teacher, you're there to help them grow, to help them develop. So you have your hands around your students and you're supporting them. If our role is just to transmit information, just record the video, put it on YouTube and fire me. If that's all I do, I'm going to be repeating what I do. That's what we should do. It's much cheaper for everyone, right? And okay, and we have the figure of the sage on stage or the guide on the side. Which one do you want to be? What do you think that our students need most nowadays? Do they need you to be on stage, or do they need you to be on their side and guiding them as information is widely available to everyone? And I think there's one more. Yes, the role of the teacher is not to make him or herself more needed, but on the other hand, much of the contrary, is to make yourself less needed. Is to prepare your students to be autonomous learners, to be independent learners, to be lifelong learners. Teaching them how to learn, not teaching them only English. If you do that, if you manage to do that, then your mission is accomplished. You're ready to tell your students that that was what I had to do. I made a difference in your life. Thank you so much.
Yoo-hoo!